right, let's get out our Journeys books and turn back to the story Roberto Clemente. We're gonna listen to it again, following along in our books. I think listening to it,
On the Chromebook?
I think it has the pictures on the book, so if you kind of look back and forth between the screen and your book, that'll work too. All right, what do you remember about Roberto Clemente from yesterday, Natalia? He played baseball. Was he good or not very good?
Good.
He was good, wasn't he? What else do you remember, Connor?
That he was famous in China.
No? Do you remember where he was from? Puerto Rico.
Puerto Rico.
Mhm.
He was famous in Puerto Rico and he wasn't famous in America.
Right. They didn't know him in America when he came to this country to start playing baseball, did they? Raylin.
When he first hit the bat, they were confused,
Who was? How come? Do you remember? Because what?
He was new,
He was new
and the crowd didn't want to know him.
and they didn't know him. Okay. Haley?
That even though he was really good baseball player, the people that wrote the news still didn't write about him and called him bad, mean names.
Yeah, they did call him mean
Too
names.
hurt to play.
Yes. Natalia?
He took his team to the series.
Yeah, he took the Pittsburgh Pirates, that was his team, to the World Series. Had they ever been to the World Series before?
No.
No. In fact, when he first started playing for them, where was that team?
And
the last.
They were in last place. Connor?
That he was, when he was little, he didn't have money, so he hit a can and he made a baseball bat out of a oak tree,
Out of a guava
a guava
tree branch.
tree
Mhm.
branch, and then he got a softball,
Mhm.
and then he got a bat, and then
Right, a real bat. Yeah.
and then he got a bat, then a real baseball.
Right, but not until he was a lot older, right? Okay, so let's go ahead and listen to
Pride of Pittsburgh Pirates by Jonah Winter, illustrated by Raul Colon. On an island called Puerto Rico, where baseball players are as plentiful as tropical flowers in a rainforest, there was a boy who had very little but a fever to play and win at baseball. He had no money for a baseball bat, so he made one from a guava tree branch. His first glove he also made from the cloth of a coffee bean sack. His first baseball field was muddy and crowded with palm trees. For batting practice, he used empty soup cans and hit them farther than anyone else. Soup cans turned into softballs. Softballs turned into baseballs. Little League turned into minor league, turned into winter league. Professional baseball in Puerto Rico. He played so well, he received an invitation to play in the major leagues in America, What an honor! But the young man was sent to a steel mill town called Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania, where his new team, the Pittsburgh Pirates, was in last place. Now, this was something very strange, being on a losing team. For the young Puerto Rican, everything was strange. Instead of palm trees, he saw smokestacks. Instead of Spanish, he heard English. Instead of being somebody, he was nobody. His first time at bat, he heard the announcer stumble through his Spanish name. Robert, Toclement. It echoed in the near empty stands. Roberto Clemente was his name, and this is pronounced Roberto Clemente. As if to introduce himself, Roberto smacked the very first pitch. But it went right up the infield and into the second baseman's glove. Still, Roberto ran like lightning and beat the throw to first base. The Pittsburgh fans checked their scorecards. Who was this guy, Roberto Clemente? To his new fans in Pittsburgh, Roberto was like a jolt of electricity. He could score from first base on a single. He could hit line drives, bunts, towering home runs, sacrifice flies, whatever was needed. Once, he even scored an inside the park grand slam. Playing right field, he had no equal. He was always leaping, diving, crashing, rolling. Once trying to catch a pop fly, running full speed, he slammed into the right field wall and fell to the ground. At last, slowly, he lifted his glove. The ball was inside. But it wasn't just how he played. He had style. He was cool. He had this move he did with his neck before each at-bat, creaking it one way, then the other. Soon, kids who wanted to be just like Roberto were doing it too, twisting their necks this way and that. Roberto did it to ease the pain he felt from playing his heart out in every game. If you don't try as hard as you can, he said, you are wasting your life. Roberto tried so hard. He helped the last place Pirates make it all the way to the World Series, where they beat the mighty New York Yankees. After the series, down in the streets of Pittsburgh, Roberto walked alone among his fans, who were so busy celebrating they didn't even notice him. That didn't bother Roberto. He was happy to feel lost in the crowd of a party he had helped create. But there was something that would have made Roberto's joy a little sweeter. As much as fans loved him, the newspaper writers did not. When Roberto was in such pain he couldn't play, they called him lazy. They mocked his Spanish accent, and when Roberto got angry, the mainly white newsmen called him a Latino hothead. Roberto swore he would be so good, he would have to get the respect he deserved. He would become the greatest all-around baseball player there ever was. At home that Christmas, Roberto went back to the same muddy field he had played on as a boy. In his pocket was a bag full of bottle caps that he emptied into the hands of some kids. They threw him the caps, and he hit each one again and again. When he returned to Pittsburgh come spring, baseballs looked huge, and he clobbered them as never before. That season, he hit .351, the highest batting average in the National League. And he still did not get the credit he deserved for being so great. It's because I'm black, isn't it? He asked the sneering reporters. It's because I'm Puerto Rican. It's because I am proud. It was starting to seem as if Roberto might never be respected in the big world outside of Pittsburgh and Puerto Rico. And then something happened. The year was 1971. The Pirates were in the World Series again, playing against the Baltimore Orioles, who were favored to win. All around America and Puerto Rico, people sat watching on TV as Roberto put on a one-man show, stealing bases, hitting home runs, playing right field with a fire most fans had never seen before. Finally, it could not be denied. Roberto was the greatest all-around baseball player of his time, maybe of all time. The very next year, he did something few have ever done. During the last game of the season, Roberto walked to the plate, creaked his neck, dug in his stance, stuck his chin toward the pitcher, and walloped a line drive off the center field wall, his 3,000th hit. The crowd cheered and they wouldn't stop cheering. For many minutes the players stopped playing and Roberto stood on second base, amazed how far he had come. And yet, when the season was over, the hero returned to the place where his story began, to the land of muddy fields and soup cans and bottle caps, to his homeland of Puerto Rico, where he was worshipped. But did he sit around and polish his trophies? No. That rainy New Year's Eve, Roberto sat in the San Juan airport and waited for mechanics to fix the tired old airplane that would take him to Central America. There had been a terrible earthquake, and he wanted to help the victims. The plane would carry food and supplies that Roberto paid for. Right before midnight, he boarded. The rain was really coming down. One of the propellers buzzed loudly. As the plane took off, the engines failed and the plane fell into the ocean. Just like that, it was over. Roberto was gone. How could his story end this way, so suddenly, and with such sadness? The story doesn't end here. When someone like Roberto dies, his spirit lives on in the hearts of all he touched. And Roberto's spirit is still growing. It grows in the bats and gloves and the arms and legs of all the Latino baseball players who have flooded into the major leagues. His spirit grows in the charities he started for poor people in Puerto Rico. And his spirit is still growing in Pittsburgh, where people who saw him play tell their children and grandchildren of how he used to sparkle running, diving, firing games, saving throws from deep right field all the way to home plate. Smack! Right into the catcher's glove.
All right. So now that we've reread this, what we're going to do is we're going to start talking about some cause and effect from the story. I'm going to connect my laptop to the board. Plug it in over here and see. Didn't I just use this last week?
Yeah.
And it was working for us. I don't know why it's not working. Okay, anyway. So we're gonna go through this cause and effect sheet. Now, think about cause and effect. It's like saying, because this happened, this was the result of it. All right, so I walked outside, here's an example. I walked outside barefoot and got a sticker in the bottom of my foot. So, because I walked outside barefoot, that's the cause. What was the effect? Got a sticker in my foot. All right. I tripped and fell as I was running through the house. What caused me to trip and fall? Running through the house. So what was the effect? I tripped and fell. Okay. Now think of Roberto Clemente. Did he have money for a baseball bat?
No.
All right. So because Roberto had no money for a baseball bat, what was the effect of that? What did he do? From what? Find that in the story. Find that text evidence in the story. Okay, did you find it?
Yep.
Okay, so you just did the first one on this page. The cause was Roberto had no money for a baseball bat. So find that, the effect from that. What did he do? He made one. Okay, and where did you find that evidence in the story?
On 150.
Okay. So what you'll do, let me go to, I'm gonna unplug this then since I can't get it to connect. Let's go to here. So you have these different boxes: cause, effect, and evidence. I'm just gonna put a C. This means effect, and this one is the evidence. Alright? So no money is basically what this one was saying. What did you say the effect of that was?
He made one.
Made his own? From what?
A guava
tree branch.
And what should we put for the evidence?
150.
We found that on page 154. Okay.
Did you need to put from guava tree branch?
Oh, I totally spelled that wrong, didn't I? I was in a hurry to get over there. You guys have just witnessed my
Third.
4th mistake. All right. Now, what we're going to do is we're going to work through, what's wrong? We're going to work through the rest of these, including the evidence where we found it in the story, to go along with each one of these. Now, they give us the cause on 3 of them, and we have to put the effect. So because this happened, this was the result of it. But then they switch it around on 2 of them. They give us the effect. We have to come up with the cause. So go ahead and fill in the first one, because we did it all together. Okay, do you have the first effect and the
Yeah.
first evidence box completed?
Yes.
Let's look at the second one. He played so well as a young man. What was the effect of that? So because he played so well as a young man, what happened? What did he end up getting to do? What did he get to do?
Got invited to Pittsburgh.
Find it in the story. Turn to where it talks about that in the story. Find that text evidence right now. Because he played so well as a young man, what was the effect of that? Connor?
That he played so well, he reserved an invitation to play the American Leagues in America.
Do you agree?
Yeah.
So what could we put for the effect, friends?
The
He received, what did he receive?
An invitation to play in
To play in the, what did it say?
the leagues in
league.
America.
in America.
The leagues in America.
The
League or leagues?
Leagues.
And where did you find that evidence in the story?
156.
Okay, you have that in your book, right? So you can get the information from your book? All right, now on this one, they flipped the information that they give us over to the effect side. I erased that because you have the same exact information in your book, friends. And you had already said what page we found that on, so you can get it finished up from there. Whoops. Okay, let's look at this next one. Is everybody finished with that, hopefully?
Yeah.
Okay. So, the effect is Roberto helped the last place Pirates win the World Series. That's the effect. That's what happened. Why did this happen? What's the cause of this? What cause made this happen? Find where that part is in the story, thinking about some of the different events that led to this. Roberto helped the last place Pirates win the World Series. Jenny thinks she found the page. Can you help them out? Jenny, what page do you think it might be on?
161.
161? Check to see if she might be right. What is the cause of this? Because he did what? He helped the last place Pirates win the World Series. What did he do that resulted in them winning the World Series? Lucas, you're writing something down. What are you writing down?
I was like on the cause that's gonna to help go to the World Series.
No, that's not the cause though. What? Because he did what? It helped them, that's the effect, win the World Series. Because he did what? Connor?
Robert tried so hard. He helped the last place Pirates make it in all the way to the World Series.
So what's the cause in that sentence?
He
Roberto
Tried
tried so hard. So that, friends, is the cause of that sentence. And was Jenny correct? That is on page 161? Yes. All right, the next effect is the white newsman called him a Latino hothead. What caused them to call him that? Find where it talks about that in the story. Right, do you think you found it? What caused them to call him a Latino hothead? Raylan? But look in that sentence where it talks about them calling him a Latino hothead. What does it say at the beginning of that sentence? What's the reason they called him that? Did you find it, Raylan? Accent. Mainly. Newsman. Latino. Okay, so why did they call him a Latino hothead? When he got angry. When who got angry? Okay, let's put that. When who again? When Roberto what? Okay. When Roberto got angry. And what page did we find that text evidence on? Kaylee?
162.
Thank you. Right, now the very last one, I had to put it up here, but the very last one, the cause is the engines on the plane failed. So because the engines failed, what happened? Find that in the story. Because the engines on the plane failed, find what happened. Find that text evidence. Point to it once you've found it. because the engines on the plane failed. Write down what the result of that was. And then go ahead and write that page number as well. So what page did you find this on, friends?
170.
So because the engines, on the plane failed, what happened? What did it say?
The plane fell into the ocean.
Is that the effect? The plane fell into the ocean? Is that what you have written down?
Yeah.
And you have the page number?
Yep.
Okay. Okay. In just a minute, you can put that in your mailbox once you're finished filling that last part in that we just talked about. But what I want you to do is, no, we're not putting them away yet. We're just gonna stay at our seats to save some time. I want you to put your Journeys book, once you're finished writing that down, put your Journeys book in your crate. And one thing with our reading this week that we're gonna spend a little time talking about, in addition to the cause and effect, is when we add, do these look familiar to you?
Yes.
Ah, so isn't it kind of funny that that's what we've just kind of been spending some time talking about in phonics recently? And now we're also gonna be talking about it in our reading. So these are the plurals that we add to words. What does plural mean? More than one, right? Plural is two or more of something. So if you say, I have 2 chairs, that's the plural for chair, right? Okay, if you have a bean, that is singular. But if you have 2 of them, what are they?
Beans.
Beans. Did you add an S or an ES to that?
X.
Okay, when we add S to words, it can make 2 sounds. Remember those sounds we talked about in phonics? It can say S or Z. When we add ES to words, what sound does it make at the end of those words? As. Alright. So do you remember talking about in phonics when we need to add ES to words? Haley?
When you have an X at the end.
When you have an X at the end of the word, when else should we add the es to the end of a word.
If you have two Z's.
Yeah, if you have two Z's.
If you have two L's,
No,
two S's.
two S's. There you go. Okay,
When you have the H.
when you have CH. Can you think of any others that we've talked about? Think about this one. When you have sh at the end of a word, think about wish, okay? If there's more than one, what's the plural for wish? Wishes.
Noun.
Wishes. What is it?
Wishes.
Wish is. So if words end with SH, we need to add what? ES to the end of them. Okay. There's one on here that's well, no, I take that back. There's two on here that are a little bit tricky. Think about potato and tomato. If you have more than one potato, you have
Potato.
potatoes. If you have more than one tomato, you have
Tomato.
no. Have to decide on those. Do you need to add just S? Or should you add ES? I'm gonna make you think about that one. We're not gonna go over the answer just yet. Okay? So, there are 2, 4, 6, there are 12 words, not very many at all, that you're going to rewrite adding the S or the ES to make them plural. So think about some of these rules that we've talked about when we need to add the ES, because I'm going to take them away and see if you were paying attention to not just now, but what we've also talked about in phonics. This is kind of a good review for all of that. So get a last glimpse of this because it's gone. All right. All right, so go ahead and first off, put your name up at the top. Then go ahead and write the word adding the correct plural form to it, whether it's the S or the ES.